Let us say the next question. Following information is available about certain portfolios. Portfolio A to portfolio H information is given. Return is given for each of them and standard deviation is given. Suppose you can also borrow and lend at the rate of 12%. So the rate at which you can borrow and lend is considered to be RF. Which of the above portfolio is best? That is a question. So among all these portfolios, you are required to identify which one is the best portfolio. Now friends, information of this question is similar to one of the question that we did earlier, in which we already have identified that say which are the efficient portfolios. See, the question says that so you're required to identify the best portfolio. However, the best portfolio will be one of the efficient portfolio. So whatever this exercise that say we already have done, that is required to be done once again. And based on that, say we have to identify the efficient portfolio. So let us answer the question. In order to identify best portfolio, comma, we have to first of all identify efficient portfolios. Full stop. Following portfolios are efficient. In the write-down E, comma, F and H. Now we will compute Sharpe ratio, comma, slope, comma, return risk trade-off, comma, to identify best portfolio among efficient portfolios. Full stop. Now let us see that say how to make the calculation and what is the logic of the same. Dear students, over here the Sharpe ratio is required to be found something like this. It is additional return divided by additional risk. As far as the additional return is concerned, it is calculated as X bar minus RF divided by standard deviation of the security minus standard deviation of the risk-free security. We know that so the standard deviation of the risk-free security is 0. So the formula is X bar minus RF divided by standard deviation. This is the way Sharpe ratio is calculated. Numerator is indicating that so this is the additional return that you will be able to get when you make investment in that portfolio. And for that, say you're required to take the additional risk equal to the standard deviation of that security. Why? Because we understand that so the standard deviation of the risk-free security is 0. So we have to do answer for E, F and H. We have to make the working in this way. When you invest in E, then the return is 17. In comparison to the risk-free rate of return, it is more by 5%. Divided by standard deviation of 19. When you invest in F, the return is 18. In comparison to the risk-free, it is more by 6%. And for the return of that 6%, you have to take the additional risk equal to 32%. That is over here 32%. If you invest in H, your return is 20. In comparison to risk free, it is more by 8%. And for that, say you have to take the additional risk of 45%. Because the risk of the H portfolio is 45%. So it is 17, 18, and 20. This is the return that you are able to get. In comparison to risk-free security, in comparison to the risk-free rate of return, it is more by how much? 5, 6, and 8. Now, what is the standard deviation that say you take in the respective portfolio that you are required to consider? So the logic is you get 5% of the additional return for taking the additional risk of 19%. Why additional risk of 19%? Because we understand that so the risk of the risk-free security is 0. Now when you invest in e-portfolio in comparison to risk-free security, you take additional risk of 19% and that gives you additional return of 5%. So 5 upon 19 comes to 0.2632. 6 upon 32 comes to 0.1875. 8 upon 45 comes to 0.1778. This is the additional return for every 1 unit of additional risk that you undertake in the respective portfolio. Now, which among this is the best one? We understand that's the E. Why? Because it is able to generate the highest return for every 1 unit of additional risk that you undertake in E portfolio. So you should make investment in E and RF in order to generate the maximum return for any given level of risk. So with paragraph write down, based on above working, comma, we can conclude that portfolio E is best portfolio because its Sharpe ratio is highest. Full stop. Additional return for every 1 unit of additional risk is highest for portfolio E in comparison to other two portfolios. Full stop. This is what we understand. With paragraph write down, additional return means return from the investment, comma, over risk-free rate of return and additional risk means risk of security over risk-free rate of return. Full stop.